I moved into Evergreen Court Apartments in early March. It was the kind of place people didn't brag about. Peeling beige paint, a parking lot full of cracked pavement, and a flickering sign out front with 2 letters burned out. Evergreen Court. But it was cheap, and after 2 months of couch hopping while juggling night classes and a brutal diner job, cheap was good enough. Apartment 3B was a studio. 1 room, 1 bathroom, a kitchenette, and the smell of stale carpet clinging to the walls like old smoke. The leasing agent, a pudgy guy named Ron with cigarette teeth, said the last tenant left without much notice but assured me it had been cleaned. I didn't ask any more questions. I needed a place, and this one didn't come with a deposit. I moved in with 3 garbage bags of clothes, a hand-me-down mattress, and a crate of mismatched dishes. There wasn't much to arrange. My bed went in the corner. The kitchenette had a microwave. The single closet creaked every time I opened it, and the bathroom mirror was cracked across the bottom, just enough to warp your reflection. I was 21, broke, exhausted. The apartment could have been haunted by 12 ghosts, and I still would have signed the lease. The first 2 weeks were uneventful. I was rarely home during the day. Classes and shifts kept me out of the apartment from 8 a.m. to midnight. When I did crash, I collapsed into bed fully clothed, too tired to care about anything but sleep. Then small things started happening. At first, it was stuff I could explain away. One morning, my phone wasn't on the charger where I left it. It was on the floor, screen facing down. A few days later, the bathroom cabinet was open when I swore I hadn't touched it. Then came the lights. Twice in 1 week, I came home to find the kitchen light on, not just flickering like a bad bulb, fully on. And I'm obsessive about turning things off when I leave. Living paycheck to paycheck makes you that way. I figured maybe the wiring was bad, or I was just too tired to remember. Then, one night, I woke up around 3:30 a.m. and noticed my laptop screen glowing across the room. I hadn't used it that day, and it was open. I always shut it. Always. I got up slowly, every nerve in my body alert. The screen was on the login page. No sign of anything unusual, but the trackpad was warm, like someone had just been using it. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I talked myself down. Stress, school, overwork, sleepwalking maybe. People do weird things when they're burnt out, right? Still, that night I propped a chair under the doorknob, just in case. Nothing happened. But the night after that, I decided to do something I'd never done before. I turned my phone camera on and left it recording while I slept. The next day I watched the footage over breakfast. It was mostly boring, just me snoring, tossing and turning. Until the 2:58 a.m. mark, the screen flickered, then went black. For 43 seconds there was nothing, not a pixel, no audio, just pure digital silence. Then the video resumed, like nothing happened. I stared at my phone, my stomach sinking. That wasn't normal. My phone didn't glitch like that, and it wasn't the last time it happened. I recorded again the next night. Same thing. At 3:12 a.m., the screen cut out. This time for over a minute. I checked the storage, checked the battery. Everything was fine. Whatever had happened, it wasn't random. Someone, or something, was turning off the camera. I tried to laugh it off, even made a joke about it to Katie, my classmate and closest friend. She told me I was probably just sleepwalking and accidentally touching my phone. She offered to let me crash at her place for a few days. I said no. I wasn't ready to admit I was scared, but something had shifted. I started waking up with this weight in my chest like I was being watched. Not the jumpy, paranoid kind of feeling. No, this was heavy, ancient dread, like something was inside the apartment with me. So I took the next step. I bought a cheap nanny cam online, one of those disguised as a smoke detector. Cost me $40, but it had motion detection and night vision. I mounted it in the top corner of the room, angled toward my bed. I didn't tell anyone. That night I left my phone off, slept in my clothes, a kitchen knife tucked under my pillow. I wasn't sure what I expected. I know now. I wasn't ready for what I saw. The next morning, I watched the footage. The first few hours were normal, me tossing, turning a car horn outside around 1:20 a.m. A creak from the plumbing. I fast-forwarded to around 3 a.m., heart in my throat. At 3:17 a.m., something moved. From the right side of the frame, from inside the apartment, a figure stepped into view. Tall, slim, dressed in black. No mask. No face I could see. He walked up to the edge of my bed and just stood there, watching me. For over 8 minutes. He didn't move. Then, without any hesitation, he turned and stared directly at the camera. Not glanced, stared, like he knew it was there. Then he reached up and covered the lens with his hand. The screen went black. I sat frozen in my desk chair. The video paused on the frame where his hand reached for the lens. My breath was shallow. My ears rang with static. I didn't know what terrified me more, his silent presence over my bed, or that moment he looked directly into the camera like he knew it was there the whole time. Like this wasn't his first visit. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just shut my laptop, grabbed my phone, and ran out of the apartment. I stood outside on the curb in socks and a hoodie, staring up at my own window, heart hammering like a jackhammer in my chest. My fingers trembled as I dialed 911. They arrived fast, 2 officers and a younger guy in plain clothes. I showed them the video, though part of me already knew what they'd say. No signs of forced entry. No fingerprints, no footprints. No evidence anyone had been there. One officer asked if I had any enemies. Another asked if I'd recently broken up with anyone. The one in plain clothes asked if I took anything for sleep, melatonin, Ambien, anything that might cause hallucinations. I felt like I was being quietly profiled. I told them to search the place, every inch. I wanted them to see what I'd seen. They obliged. Closet, empty. Under the bed, dust and crumbs. Kitchen cabinets, nothing. I expected them to find a hole, a secret passage, a vent the guy could have crawled through. But they didn't find anything. Just me, my stuff, my fear. Before they left, one of the officers pulled me aside and said, "If you feel unsafe, maybe stay with someone for a few days, but maybe don't tell too many people about this video. People might take it the wrong way." The wrong way? What other way was there? Katie took me in that night without asking questions. She didn't even blink when I showed her the footage. She was silent the entire time, and when the video ended, she said quietly, "You're not going back there." I agreed. For a few days, I stayed at her place. She had futon in her living room, and we kept all the lights on at night. I didn't sleep much. Every creak in the walls or groan from the pipes made me sit up, knife in hand. But eventually, I had to go back. My laptop, my textbooks, my ID, everything was still at Evergreen. I waited until noon, just to be safe. Broad daylight. Katie came with me. We brought pepper spray and wore gloves. She kept making jokes to keep me calm. "Watch the boogeyman pop out of the toilet," she whispered once. I forced a laugh, but my stomach was a knot. We started packing immediately. I planned to break the lease and figure out the rest later. That's when I noticed the closet door was slightly open. Not wide, just cracked, half an inch maybe. And something was off, the way the air shifted near it. I stepped closer, heart pounding in my ears. The inside looked normal, clothes, some shoes, a box of old notebooks. But the back panel, the wall, was different. Wrong color, wrong material. I touched it. It was plywood, light, thin, loose at the edges. Katie came over, watching silently. Together we pulled it back and found the crawl space. It was barely wide enough to fit a person crouching. Dust coated the floor like ash. The walls were raw concrete and a rusted flashlight lay in the corner. There was more. A used blanket, an empty energy drink can, a crumpled paper bag, a camera, one of those tiny wireless motion sensor kinds, and worst of all, a hole. A round, clean hole drilled into the closet wall about an inch wide. It lined up perfectly with my bed. That's when I realized this wasn't some one-time thing. He'd been watching me for weeks, maybe longer, lurking in that crawl space, sleeping there, crawling through God knows how much of the building, maybe watching other tenants too. Katie was already dialing the cops. They took it seriously this time. They sealed off the apartment and brought in evidence techs. I gave a statement. I showed them everything. For the first time, they didn't question my sanity. But that only made me more afraid. Because if this was real, that meant he was real. Not a hallucination, not a sleepwalking dream. A man, a stalker, a predator. Someone who had been living just inches from me, recording me while I slept. That night, I stayed at Katie's again. The police said they'd be in touch, but I knew how these things went. They'd collect evidence, maybe dust for prints, then file it away. I'd never hear from them again. But I didn't care about justice. I just wanted to be safe. So I shut everything down, deleted social media, wiped my laptop, changed my phone number. Katie helped me set up privacy filters and encrypt my devices. We even made a pact not to talk about it online, not to draw attention. And for a few days, it worked. No nightmares, no strange noises, no emails, just silence. Until 4 days later, when I got the first message. It came from a Gmail address I didn't recognize. No subject, no body. Just an attachment, one video file. I clicked it. My hands were ice, my mouth dry. It was footage of me, in the shower, from behind the shower curtain, filmed from a high angle. It wasn't old. I had dyed my hair 2 weeks ago. The color was fresh. It had been filmed recently, after I moved out, after I found the crawl space, after the police sealed the apartment. The second I saw that video, my body under the spray of water, grainy but unmistakably me, I dropped my phone. Katie heard the clatter and rushed from the kitchen. What happened? I couldn't speak. I could only point to the screen still showing the last frozen frame of the video, the edge of the shower curtain, my silhouette. Her face drained of all color. She didn't say anything either. After a few long seconds, she picked the phone up and closed the video, then locked it. We're calling the cops. Again. I didn't argue. This time, the detective who came was different. Older, more serious. His name was Briggs. Detective Michael Briggs. Weathered eyes, heavy coat, and a quiet, exhausted voice. The kind of guy who'd seen more horror than he ever wanted to admit. He didn't ask if I was making it up. He sat down and said, "Tell me everything. Start from the beginning." So I did. Every detail. The phone camera blackouts, the man staring at the lens, the crawl space, the footage I found, even the new video, the one that proved beyond a doubt he was still watching me. Briggs asked only one thing when I finished. "Have you looked for hidden devices here?" Katie and I exchanged a glance. He pulled a small scanner from his bag, a handheld thing with a glowing LED and a soft beep that pulsed like a heartbeat. Within minutes he found 2 tiny cameras, one inside Katie's smoke detector, another behind the vent facing the bathroom. We hadn't even noticed the holes drilled for them. Briggs quietly called in a team. They swept the apartment. In total, 4 hidden cameras were found, all active, all broadcasting wirelessly, and all installed after I'd moved in with Katie. That was the breaking point. We packed our stuff, what little we could carry, and left before the police even finished. Katie's parents lived 2 hours out in a small town surrounded by trees and silence. They welcomed us in without questions. The next few days were a blur. Katie barely left her room. I didn't sleep. I couldn't shake the feeling that he had followed us. And the videos kept coming. Short, silent, always from somewhere he shouldn't be. Me studying at the library. Katie in her bedroom, brushing her hair. A close-up of our mailbox. Sometimes there'd be nothing for 2 days, then 3 videos at once, different angles, different timestamps. The subject was always the same, us.
One night, Katie asked, "What if it's not just a person?" I didn't know how to answer. Her voice was raw, like she was already past fear, living in some numb, hollow space beyond it. I wanted to believe this was just a sick man, a predator with money, equipment, and time. But I kept thinking back to the footage, the way he moved, the absolute silence, the perfect blackouts, the unexplainable way he always found us, no matter how far we ran, no matter how private the space. It didn't feel human anymore. 2 weeks passed. I tried everything. Reached out to private security forums.
Hired a tech guy to sweep the place. He found nothing. Cops said there were no new leads, no fingerprints, no digital traces. Just silence. And then, Katie disappeared. It happened on a Monday. She went into town to grab coffee and paper towels. Said she needed to breathe. She left around 10 a.m. in her dad's old Camry. She never came back. By sunset, we were calling hospitals, the sheriff's department, friends. No one had seen her. Her car was found 2 days later, in the back of a hardware store parking lot, 2 towns over. Driver's seat empty, no signs of struggle. The only thing out of place was a small black USB stick left on the dash. The police didn't want to look at it, but I did. They let me plug it into their laptop under supervision. It held one video file. The video was barely 2 minutes long. It was footage from inside Katie's room, back at her parents' house. The camera was low, near the floor, hidden behind a bookcase. Katie was in frame, kneeling, folding laundry, her hair pulled up. She looked peaceful, tired, but normal. Then she froze, turned her head, stared directly into the lens, and started to cry. Not scream, not panic, just slow, silent sobbing, as if she knew. As if she had always known he was watching her, and this was her final surrender. Then the screen cut to black, and at the very end, a single frame appeared. Just one. A photo. Of me, asleep, from inside Katie's parents' house. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I couldn't, but because I was too afraid to close my eyes. Every creak of the old farmhouse made me flinch. Every flicker of shadow made me wonder if he was already inside, watching, waiting. Katie was gone. The police didn't say it, but I saw it in their faces. They didn't expect to find her alive. The house felt empty without her. Too quiet. I sat in her room, staring at the empty laundry basket, the last place she was seen in the video. My thoughts kept spiraling. How did he get in? When? Where was the camera? How had we missed it again? It didn't matter. He was always ahead. He didn't need to break locks. He didn't need to plant bugs in advance, because he was already there. The next morning, Detective Briggs called. He said, "Get somewhere public, now." I didn't argue. I grabbed my keys, wallet and phone and drove to the local diner. I sat in the corner booth, my back to the wall, facing the door. I watched every face that came in. Then Briggs showed up alone. He looked worse than before, pale, unshaven, hands shaking slightly. "I need to tell you something," he said, "but you need to listen all the way through. No interruptions." I nodded. He took a deep breath and said, "That crawl space, it wasn't supposed to be there. It doesn't match the building's layout. The property manager swears it wasn't part of the original blueprint." I blinked. "So, what does that mean?" He leaned in, lowered his voice. "It means he made it, dug it out piece by piece, lined it, framed it, built the passage through the walls, maybe over months, maybe longer. The other tenants, we interviewed them. A few of them reported weird sounds at night, tapping, scraping, but no one checked." My mouth felt dry. He continued, "Here's where it gets worse. We ran facial recognition on the figure from your video, the guy over your bed. Got nothing, no matches. Not in any database, not even facial structure alignment hits." "Maybe he's off the grid," I said. Briggs shook his head. "No, it's like he doesn't exist. And that's not even the strangest part." He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen.
A still frame from one of my videos came up. The one where the man looked directly at the camera. Only now I noticed something I hadn't seen before. A tattoo, barely visible under his sleeve. A dark, looping spiral burned into his wrist. Briggs zoomed in. "We've seen this symbol before," he said. "Cold cases, backlogged files, security footage from different cities, years apart, always the same man, always the same spiral, always the same look." I stared at the image. It didn't feel like a symbol anymore. It felt like a signature. That night, I checked into a motel under a fake name. An old roadside place, yellow siding, flickering neon vacancy sign, rooms with damp carpet and humming air conditioners. It was the last place anyone would look for me. I didn't tell the police. Didn't tell Katie's parents.
I just vanished. I didn't care about my old life anymore. All I wanted was to disappear. No more electronics, no phone, no internet. I paid in cash. There were only 6 other cars in the lot. Mostly truckers. A family on a road trip. The front desk clerk barely looked at me when I checked in. Room 107. End of the hallway. I locked the door, pulled the curtains, pushed the dresser in front of the window, placed a chair under the doorknob, and sat on the edge of the bed. Just me. And the silence. I lasted 4 days. 4 whole days without a single sign of him. No cameras, no emails, no messages, just static on the motel TV and distant freeway sounds. I started to believe he had given up. Or better, maybe Briggs caught him. I almost let myself hope. But then, on the 5th night, I heard it. A soft knock on the wall. Not the door, the wall. I froze. The knock came again, slow, deliberate, right behind the headboard. Then silence. Then tap, 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 moving, along the wall, behind the dresser, near the bathroom. He was inside the wall. I backed into the corner, clutching the motel phone like it could protect me. I dialed the front desk. No answer. I dialed again. Nothing. I screamed into the receiver. Nothing but dead static. And then, my room light flickered and turned off. Darkness swallowed me whole. I scrambled to grab my bag, keys, anything. My fingers brushed against cold metal, my flashlight. I flicked it on and swung the beam across the room. Empty. Empty. Empty, not empty. The closet door was cracked open. Not wide. Just enough. Just enough for me to see what was inside. He stood there. Silent. Tall. Pale. Covered in dust. The spiral tattoo gleamed black under the flashlight. His mouth moved slowly, but no sound came out. His eyes were pitch black, like holes. Not sockets, holes. As if nothing lived behind them. And then, as I screamed and lunged for the door, the flashlight died. They found room 107 3 days later after another guest reported a smell. The door was locked from the inside. No sign of forced entry. No blood. No signs of struggle. Just a room, empty. The bed neatly made. Closet closed. Bathroom mirror fogged like someone had recently taken a shower. And written into the condensation in perfect capital letters, "I watched you sleep every night and you never noticed."